Continuing from the previous chapter, Lin Dong showed no mercy to his enemies, regardless of their powerful backgrounds. He went as far as to directly kill a Nirvana stage expert from a high-ranking dynasty. Within the ancient battlefield, dynasties are as countless as the stars, and even the high-ranking ones can be dizzyingly numerous. To gain some renown in such a vast environment is no simple feat. Evidently, the Demonic Rock Dynasty is one of those powerful dynasties with a reputation. Though their fame carries a somewhat bloody taste, it was nevertheless forged through formidable strength. Therefore, in the minds of many dynasties, the Demonic Rock Dynasty is categorized as one of those particularly troublesome entities that one should avoid provoking. Especially after the recent complete annihilation of another high-ranking dynasty by the Demonic Rock Dynasty. This notion has become even more deeply ingrained in the minds of many. It was precisely because of this that when news spread from Yang City that someone had slain a Nirvana expert from the Demonic Rock Dynasty, it caused an uproar and commotion across the vast and boundless region. Clearly, no one expected anyone to provoke the Demonic Rock Dynasty at this time. Everyone understood that the young man named Lin Dong would soon find himself in a dire situation, facing relentless pursuit. Although the Demonic Rock Dynasty may not be the absolute, uncontested ruler of the vast northwestern region of the ancient battlefield, it is certainly a formidable presence. Few dynasties and experts in this area could compel them to restrain their ferocity and arrogance. At the very least, the man named Lin Dong is far from qualified to reach that level. Thus, the pursuit by the Demonic Rock Dynasty against him is bound to be utterly ruthless and merciless. As the entire northwestern region buzzed with uproar over Lin Dong's audacious act of stirring the hornet's nest, the man at the center of the storm was deep within the mountains, completely isolated from any outside news. This mountain range, quite a distance from Yang City, was vast, even rivaling the Thunder Rock mountain range in its enormity. Such massive mountain ranges were not uncommon in the ancient battlefield. Similarly, the number of beasts within the range reached an astonishing level, making it a place where even Nirvana stage experts must tread with caution. Deep within the mountain range, atop a green peak, Lin Dong sat quietly in a cross-legged position, eyes closed. Powerful waves of devouring force swept around him like a whale sucking in water, drawing the surrounding primordial energy into his body, where it was refined and transformed in a surging energy that flowed through his limbs and bones, bringing a sense of invigorating power. This tranquil cultivation continued for about half an hour before Lin Dong slowly opened his tightly shut eyes, the gleam in them gradually fading away. A faint smile appeared on his face. He had left Yang City 5 days ago, spending most of this time in cultivation. Now, he was once again alone. Although the solitude was a bit lonely, he no longer needed to suppress his devouring force. This kind of training was far more efficient than before. Given his current cultivation speed, Lin Dong estimated that within a month, he could attempt to break through to the half-step Nirvana stage. However, what troubled Lin Dong was not reaching the half-step Nirvana stage, but rather how he would attempt to break through to the full Nirvana stage afterward. After his actual battle with a Nirvana stage expert, Lin Dong clearly understood the importance of the number of Nirvana pills used when attempting to break through to the Nirvana stage. With his current strength, he could defeat Li Pan because the latter had only used 100,000 Nirvana pills when breaking through to the Nirvana stage, leaving his Nirvana chi far weaker than that of a stronger expert like Chen Mu. Lin Dong could easily defeat Li Pan, but if he were to face Chen Mu, it would be far from easy. Chen Mu had used a full 500,000 Nirvana pills to reach the Nirvana stage. This amount allowed him to outshine experts like Li Pan even before overcoming the Nirvana tribulation. Understanding this gap, Lin Dong was naturally unwilling to be left in the same inferior position as Li Pan when he broke through to the Nirvana stage. Building a strong foundation is crucial. The more solid the groundwork, the more advantageous it is for future breakthroughs within the Nirvana stage. But these Nirvana pills... Lin Dong furrowed his brows slightly, again pondering the most pressing issue. Currently, he had around 60,000 Nirvana pills left, most of which had been obtained from Li Pan's Chinquan bag. This amount was far from what Lin Dong had envisioned. Haha, still fretting over how to gather enough Nirvana pills? As Lin Dong furrowed his brow, Little Mink appeared with a sly glint in his eyes. Do you have a solution? Lin Dong raised an eyebrow, asking. Knowing your personality, if you want to break through to the Nirvana stage, you probably wouldn't be satisfied without a stockpile of at least 1,000,000 Nirvana pills. But even with your devouring ancestral talisman, it's almost impossible to refine that many in a short time, Little Mink said lazily. What could be more efficient than just taking them? Taking them? Lin Dong's mouth twitched slightly. I'm not suggesting you go around robbing random people. The Demonic Rock Dynasty is bound to send people after you this time, and those who come will likely be stronger than Li Pan. These guys are loaded. If you can capture just one of them, I'd say you'd at least get 100,000 Nirvana pills, Little Mink chuckled mischievously. Robbing the Demonic Rock Dynasty. Lin Dong's eyes widened slightly. Then he gave Little Mink a strange look. He was currently trying to find a way to escape from the Demonic Rock Dynasty's pursuit, and yet this little creature was thinking about how to defeat them and snatch their Nirvana pills. Afraid? Little Mink scoffed. I've already killed a man from the Demonic Rock Dynasty. What's there to be afraid of? But you also know that the ones they're sending this time won't be pushovers. Trying to steal Nirvana pills from them won't be easy, even with my recent advancement to a heavenly talisman master. Lin Dong replied with a smile, shaking his head. Right now, his strength was at best on par with Chen Mu's. Even with the blood spirit puppet, the people the Demonic Rock Dynasty would send wouldn't be just one Nirvana stage expert like Chen Mu. As for the ultimate trump card, summoning the ancient sky crocodile, it was a one-time opportunity. The ancient sky crocodile could definitely rival an expert who had passed the Nirvana tribulation, but using it here might be a bit of a waste. You're underestimating your current strength a bit. Little Mink, seemingly aware of Lin Dong's thoughts, smiled faintly. You possess the devouring ancestral talisman, a divine artifact of heaven and earth. In the past, you couldn't even tap into 1/10,000th of its power. But now, with your greatly enhanced spiritual energy, you can harness some of its abilities. With that, even Chen Mu wouldn't be able to do much to you. Besides, if we plan carefully, we could set a trap and wait for the Demonic Rock Dynasty to come to us. Then, we can take them all out in one fell swoop. I'd say the haul could be quite substantial. In one fell swoop, even though Lin Dong was already quite bold, he was momentarily taken aback by Little Mink's audacious plan. However, he wasn't someone who shied away from challenges. When he thought about the potential rewards, a hint of excitement appeared in his eyes. If this plan succeeded, the gains would certainly be very satisfying. Are you confident? Lin Dong asked softly, blinking his eyes. Back in the day, there was no one Lord Mink couldn't outwit. These little characters aren't even as significant as stray dogs or cats. They're not a challenge at all, Little Mink boasted proudly. Lin Dong chuckled at this, though he remained skeptical. Perhaps this creature had indeed been fierce in the past, but that was a long time ago. The mark in your body, I could erase it now, but it's better to keep it to guide them here. In the meantime, I'll teach you some methods to master the devouring ancestral talisman. With your current level, you should be able to activate some of its powers, Little Mink said, patting his paws. His cunning eyes sparkled with a chilling light, and then he turned to look into the distance, grinning. What the hell is the Demonic Rock Dynasty? How dare they act so arrogantly in front of Lord Mink? If they dare to come, Lord Mink will make sure they never return. Lin Dong gently stroked Little Yin beside him, smiling slightly. The cold glint in his eyes also grew sharper. He had originally thought he would have to stay on the run for a while, but now it seemed that wouldn't be necessary. Demonic Rock Dynasty? I hope the people you send this time have some real ability. Otherwise, this game won't be very fun. Lin Dong murmured, his soft voice drifting across the green peak. One must admit, the courage of this man and Mink duo had indeed reached a certain level. While the outside world was either pitying or gloating over their imminent pursuit, they had already taken the initiative to set a trap, waiting for the experts of the Demonic Rock Dynasty to arrive. The roles of hunter and prey often switch unnoticed. It remains to be seen, however, who will have the last laugh in this chase and counter-chase. Deep within the mountains, a steep peak pierced the clouds, shrouded in mist, giving it an almost ethereal, celestial appearance. On the cliff of the peak, a figure sat motionless on a protruding boulder, his black hair flowing freely in the light breeze, exuding an air of carefree elegance. Suddenly, as the figure sat there, seemingly asleep, a white beast with wings flapped through the mist. Its slightly reddish eyes locked onto the figure below, using the mist as cover. This beast was a well-known entity in the ancient battlefield, called the human-faced demon eagle. It had a face that resembled a human's, but with its mismatched features, it gave an eerie and chilling impression. The strength of this human-faced demon eagle was considerable. Judging by its aura, it could rival experts like Lu Yuan, who were at the quasi-nirvana level. With its wings beating, there was not even the slightest sound, stealthy and ghostly, making it impossible to guard against. Even an average nirvana stage expert would find such a beast quite troublesome. Clearly, this human-faced demon eagle had been eyeing the figure below for a long time. After hovering silently for an extended period, its wings suddenly flapped, and it surged forward at an astonishing speed. What was terrifying was that even at this breakneck speed, it did not make a single sound. Not even the flow of air was disturbed. Such a stealth attack would undoubtedly be a nightmare for most. The human-faced demon eagle moved swiftly, cutting through the mist in the blink of an eye. Its sharp claws, capable of tearing through a nirvana stage expert's defenses, glinted coldly as they aimed directly at the crown of the figure's head. Given the ferocity of the strike, if it connected, it would likely rip the skull open. Swoosh! Just as the deadly claws were about to strike, a black vortex suddenly expanded, and the eagle's claws were sucked into it. Roar! The sudden turn of events startled the human-faced demon eagle. It frantically flapped its wings, attempting to use its immense strength to pull free from the black vortex. Whoosh! However, just as it flapped its wings, countless black beams shot out from the vortex, wrapping tightly around the eagle and dragging it unceremoniously into the vortex. The vortex, like a giant mouth, swallowed it whole, without even a single feather left behind. The strange ambush ended with an equally strange scene. At this moment, the figure's eyes slowly opened, revealing a faint smile. He then flipped his palm, revealing a fist-sized beast crystal. Within the crystal, a powerful nirvana chi swirled. The nirvana chi within this is worth about 1,000 nirvana pills, the figure mused as he clenched his hand. The beast crystal was consumed by a powerful devouring force, transforming into a stream of nirvana chi that flowed into his body. This gain was equivalent to a day's worth of cultivation. However, beasts like this were rare, even in these deep mountains, and in places where nirvana-level beasts gathered in groups. Not even he dared to venture recklessly. After devouring the beast crystal, the figure finally stood up. When he raised his face, it was revealed to be Lin Dong, who had retreated into the deep mountains. 5 days have already passed. Lin Dong stood up, his eyes narrowing slightly as he gazed into the distance, a mysterious light flickering in his eyes. In these 5 days, under Little Mink's guidance, his mastery over the devouring ancestral talisman had clearly improved significantly. And, due to his advancement to a heavenly talisman master, his control over the domineering devouring force had also become more proficient. As Lin Dong gradually became more adept at utilizing the devouring force, he began to fully comprehend the true power of the devouring ancestral talisman. This artifact truly lived up to its reputation as a divine object of heaven and earth. Compared to 10 days ago, Lin Dong's combat strength had clearly improved once again. Now, even when facing a nirvana stage expert like Chen Mu, he would not be at a disadvantage. These guys sure are taking their time, Lin Dong muttered softly to himself. After devising a plan with Little Mink last time, they decided to deal with the pursuers from the Demonic Rock Dynasty. Of course, to avoid arousing suspicion, Lin Dong hadn't stayed in one place, but kept moving around to create the illusion of constantly fleeing. However, despite this, the anticipated pursuers had yet to show up. No need to rush. They should be close. They can sense the mark in your body, and I can use it to sense them in return. Although the signal is very faint, they're definitely getting closer. Little Mink appeared on Lin Dong's shoulder, smiling. How's the preparation going? Lin Dong glanced at him with a smile. Almost ready. As long as those fools dare to come, we'll make sure they never leave. Little Mink's eyes glinted with excitement and brilliance, clearly eager for a major confrontation after a long time. Hearing this, the smile on Lin Dong's face grew even wider. He then glanced toward the distant north and let out a sharp whistle. Whoosh! Following the whistle, a crimson figure swiftly flew up from the mountains below, flapping its wings before appearing right next to Lin Dong. It was Little Yin, whose diet had been quite abundant lately. Most of the beast crystals from the half-step Nirvana beasts Lin Dong had slain had been devoured by it. This voracious appetite had evidently brought significant benefits. Little Yin was not only visibly larger and more imposing, but also emanated an aura that seemed to rival that of a half-step Nirvana expert. Lin Dong was clearly pleased with Little Yan's transformation. He rubbed its large head, then leapt onto its back. Instantly, Little Yan's wings spread wide, and it shot forward like a streak of red lightning, heading far into the distance. As they flew, Lin Dong's gaze swept casually behind them. The net had been set. Now they just had to wait for the fish to arrive. Demonic Rock Dynasty, since you want to capture me, let's first see if you're willing to pay the price. Meanwhile, as Lin Dong continued to relocate, 10 dark figures darted out like phantoms from a distant mountain peak far behind him. These 10 figures exuded powerful auras. The one leading them was none other than Chen Mu, with his sinister and fierce face. He raised his head and looked ahead, his eyes gleaming with a cold light. That brat is running again. As Chen Mu finished speaking, a few sneers sounded from behind him. This guy really is like a dog without a home, running so tirelessly. Chen Mu's brows furrowed slightly. For some reason, he felt something wasn't right. Though the blood mark was difficult to remove, Lin Dong should have had enough time to slowly erase it over this period. Yet, he hadn't made any such attempt. Didn't he realize that as long as the mark remained, he could never truly escape from them? Chen Mu, pick up the pace. We've wasted enough time already. A raspy voice suddenly spoke from behind Chen Mu as he furrowed his brows. Hearing this voice, Chen Mu's eye twitched slightly. He turned his head to see a gaunt man behind him. The man's appearance was ordinary, but his eyes, shaped like inverted triangles, were like those of a snake, emitting an extremely chilling aura. Even with Chen Mu's ruthless demeanor, his expression became somewhat unnatural when facing this man. In the Demonic Rock Dynasty, those at the Nirvana stage held significant status, but this man was second only to the first and second senior brothers, making him the undisputed third, even above Chen Mu. As if sensing Chen Mu's scrutiny, the man slightly raised his head. From his sleeve, he extended an arm covered in black scales, a bizarre sight. Still not moving? I'd love to see if this Lin Dong has 3 heads and 6 arms. Daring to provoke the Demonic Rock Dynasty, the man smiled, revealing a row of sharp, white teeth. His grin was filled with an intimidating ferocity. Chen Mu felt a chill run through his heart and dared not delay further. He turned and shot forward at high speed, with the others closely following behind. Over the next day, Chen Mu and his group did not stop at all. They pushed their speed to the limit, following the faint signal across mountains and ridges. As the scorching sun in the sky gradually set in the west, casting a crimson glow over the mountains, the 10 figures finally slowed and descended into a vast sea of trees. At the same time, their eyes focused on a figure sitting quietly ahead. The light breeze rustled his robes and caused his black hair to flow. Not running anymore? Chen Mu's gaze was icy as he stared at the figure, his cold voice sending a chill through the air. However, in response to Chen Mu's chilling words, the figure ahead merely smiled slightly and stretched lazily. Instead of the panic Chen Mu and his group had expected, His eyes carried a peculiar hint of amusement. Your speed is too slow. If you keep this up, I might just lose my patience. Hearing these words, Chen Mu's eyes immediately narrowed. Above the sea of trees, the lush green stretched to the horizon. A light breeze blew, causing waves of green to ripple across the landscape, creating a grand and majestic scene. At this moment, however, the atmosphere above the sea of trees was suddenly tense. The 10 figures stood quietly, their cold gazes fixed on the lone figure ahead, eyes gleaming with a cat-and-mouse playfulness. From what you're saying, it seems like you've been waiting for us on purpose. Among the 10 figures, one person suddenly let out a strange laugh, his gaze mocking as he looked at Lin Dong. The words spoken earlier by Lin Dong made them chuckle. It seemed the relentless chase had driven this unlucky fellow a bit out of his mind. Lin Dong chuckled and slowly scanned the 10 figures, his gaze finally settling on Chen Mu and the figure behind him. With his keen spiritual perception, he sensed a faint yet present danger emanating from this man, an intensity that surpassed even that of Chen Mu. The Demonic Rock Dynasty truly has a strong foundation. Lin Dong squinted slightly, showing no trace of panic. Clearly, he had anticipated such a situation. Lin Dong, I've told you before, one must know their limits. Today's outcome is entirely your own doing. Chen Mu's gaze was icy as he stared at Lin Dong, his eyes barely able to conceal his murderous intent. Hand over the ancient key, and I'll leave you a whole corpse. No one has ever killed someone from the Demonic Rock Dynasty and lived peacefully afterward, and you will be no exception. Chen Mu extended his hand, his tone indifferent. There was no room for negotiation in his words. Clearly, he had come with the firm intention of killing Lin Dong. Lin Dong looked at Chen Mu with a smile and suddenly asked, "How many Nirvana pills did you bring?" It must be said that Lin Dong's question was so unexpected that even Chen Mu was momentarily stunned. However, he quickly realized that Lin Dong's words were unlikely to be anything good, and his expression grew somewhat sinister. "I'm about to break through to the Nirvana stage and need quite a few Nirvana pills," Lin Dong said with a light smile. He didn't say much more, but seeing the increasingly strange expressions on Chen Mu and the others' faces, it was clear they understood his implication. You're quite an interesting lad, but people like you never live long. I have 150,000 Nirvana pills with me. If you have the ability, feel free to take them." The speaker this time was the man with triangular pupils standing behind Chen Mu. His pupils narrowed slightly as he stared at Lin Dong, a half-smile on his face. It seemed this was the first time he had encountered someone daring enough to set their sights on them. 150,000. Quite a fat sheep, Lin Dong chuckled. His smile, however, only made the Demonic Rock Dynasty experts shake their heads, likely thinking he was mad. "Chen Mu, take care of your remaining trouble. The rest of you seal off this area. I don't want to see any surprises today," the man with triangular pupils said, glancing at Lin Dong. Feeling it was pointless to continue talking with someone so clearly deranged, he waved his hand dismissively. "Yes, senior brother Lei She." Upon hearing his words, the other 8 experts of the Demonic Rock Dynasty immediately responded. Their figures shot forward, forming a formation that surrounded Lin Dong. With such a blockade, it seemed Lin Dong would have no chance to escape. Chen Mu took a deep breath, his gaze turning icy cold as he stepped forward and spoke in a low voice. "Lin Dong, I was indeed surprised that you managed to reach the level of a heavenly talisman master. However, if you think that alone is enough to challenge the Demonic Rock Dynasty, then I'm afraid I have to tell you, you're far too naive. But things have come to this point, and even if you kneel down and hand over the ancient key, you must still pay the price for provoking the dignity of the Demonic Rock Dynasty. So you must die." Chen Mu's hand suddenly clenched, and a murderous intent surged in his eyes, accompanied by a vast wave of primordial energy. Both being at the Nirvana stage, Chen Mu's strength was evidently several levels above Li Pan's. Swoosh! A violent surge of primordial energy swept out as Chen Mu moved. His speed suddenly skyrocketed, leaving behind a trail of afterimages. In an instant, he appeared like a ghost behind Lin Dong, his palm brimming with condensed primordial energy, striking down toward Lin Dong's crown with lightning speed and without any mercy. Bang! Chen Mu's attack, however, did not land on Lin Dong's body. Just half a foot from his crown, a surge of powerful spiritual energy erupted, forming a barrier above Lin Dong's head that blocked the attack. Shoo! Though his attack was stopped, Chen Mu showed no sign of surprise. His palms flickered, gathering primordial energy like a storm, and then he threw a punch. Mountain Breaker Fist. The violent fist imprint surged forward with a forceful momentum, smashing into the spiritual barrier. With a single punch, it shattered the barrier to pieces. However, just as the fist imprint shattered the spiritual barrier, a cold glint suddenly shot up from below. It didn't attempt to block the force of the punch, but instead took a sharp, cunning trajectory, aiming directly at Chen Mu's throat. Faced with Lin Dong's desperate move, Chen Mu let out a cold snort. His palms swung horizontally, and the tremendous force struck heavily against the cold glint, intending to knock it away. Seeing this, Lin Dong's eyes narrowed slightly, and with a thought, the devouring force surged out, enveloping the sky crocodile bone spear. In an instant, the spear, originally bone white, turned an abyssal black, incomparably deep. Boom! Chen Mu's iron-like palms, infused with violent force, struck the bone spear, but the expected repulsion did not occur. Instead, the spear emitted a strange, pulling force. Under this force, even the primordial energy covering Chen Mu's body showed signs of dissipating. This bizarre turn of events made Chen Mu's eyes narrow slightly. He quickly made a decisive move to break free from the pull and retreated rapidly. Looks like those 50,000 Nirvana pills were a waste. Lin Dong laughed loudly upon seeing Chen Mu retreat. His eyes then flashed with cold light as a vast amount of spiritual energy burst forth from his Niwen palace. Immediately, the sky began to stir and thunder flickered among the clouds. Chen Mu's face darkened. He glanced at the unnatural phenomena in the sky, understanding that Lin Dong was about to use his spiritual energy to manipulate the forces of nature. Instantly, he stomped forward, his steps suddenly becoming strange and elusive, a clear indication of a formidable movement technique. Swoosh! With an odd twist of his body, Chen Mu appeared in front of Lin Dong. His hand formed a blade, and violent primordial energy gathered madly, emitting a faint yet extremely sharp wave. Great primordial extreme blade. Chen Mu's eyes were cold as his hand chopped downward. The air seemed to be torn apart at that moment, and below, the sea of trees was directly ripped apart, leaving a massive gap several dozen feet wide. In front of me, you don't even have the time to summon the power of the heavens and earth. Chen Mu sneered grimly. His palm blade moved with an indescribable swiftness. Even Lin Dong could only see a flash of sharp light before the blade, potent enough to seriously wound a Nirvana stage expert, struck down fiercely on his body. Clang! But at the moment of contact, the expected sound of flesh being torn did not ring out. Instead, there was a crisp clang of metal. Chen Mu's eyes immediately narrowed sharply. He saw that beneath Lin Dong's skin, a strange blackness suddenly emerged. This blackness seeped out and, in an instant, formed a black armor on the surface of Lin Dong's body. When Chen Mu's sharp palm blade struck this black armor, it was as if it had sunk into a deep abyss, not causing any reaction at all. What shocked Chen Mu the most was that the black armor emitted a powerful suction force. Under this pull, even the primordial energy within his body began to rapidly drain away, continuously flowing into Lin Dong's body. This kid is up to something. A thought flashed through Chen Mu's mind, and instantly, every hair on his body stood on end. But just as he was about to retreat hastily, a cold grin spread across Lin Dong's lips. Boom! Above them, the sky flickered with thunder, and lightning converged rapidly. In the blink of an eye, it formed a massive lightning hand. However, this lightning was not the usual brilliant silver, but a pitch-black color, exuding a chilling aura. Devouring Thunderpalm. A low shout echoed in Lin Dong's mind, and the black thunderpalm suddenly swept downward. In the shocked gaze of the Demonic Rock Dynasty experts, it slammed fiercely into Chen Mu, who had no time to evade. Boom! Immediately, black lightning spread out across the sea of trees. Not far away, Lei She's eyes reflected the dancing lightning, his gaze growing increasingly cold and sinister. A thunderous boom resounded across the forest, followed by a black wave of lightning that swept out at an astonishing speed. Wherever the lightning passed, blackened marks quickly spread through the lush green sea of trees, glaringly distinct and eye-catching. Bang! As the lightning spread, a battered figure was also blasted out. This figure scraped across the sea of trees, tearing a nearly 100-foot-long rift in its wake, with countless giant trees being violently shattered along the way. The figure that had been flung backward finally managed to stabilize itself, but even as it did, its body trembled slightly, with wisps of black smoke rising from its back. Even its aura had weakened considerably, clearly indicating severe injuries. The trembling figure's face turned a ghastly pale, and a mouthful of blood spurted out uncontrollably. He lifted his head in shock, looking at the figure cloaked in black armor above the forest, evidently not expecting Lin Dong's attack to be so ferocious. He knew Lin Dong had recently become a heavenly talisman master, but even the heavenly power wielded by such masters shouldn't have reached this level of strength. Moreover, at the moment he was struck, he clearly felt a large amount of his primordial energy mysteriously vanish. This only worsened his injuries, adding insult to injury. As the pervasive lightning gradually dissipated, the surrounding Demonic Rock Dynasty experts looked at the battered Chen Mu, their pupils contracting sharply. They all took a deep breath. They knew very well how strong Chen Mu was, but they hadn't expected that even he would end up in such a state. This time, as their gazes once again fell on the young man surrounded by them, there was no longer a hint of mockery in their eyes. If they hadn't come prepared, the outcome could have been quite unpredictable. They exchanged glances, and their gazes unanimously turned to the man with the triangular pupils. Under their watchful eyes, the man known as Lei She slightly narrowed his eyes, then looked over at Lin Dong not far away. In a raspy voice, he said, "There seem to be quite a few wolves in sheep's clothing these days. It's hard to imagine that someone who has only recently become a heavenly talisman master could wield such formidable heavenly power." Lin Dong glanced at him casually and said, "It's not that I'm pretending to be weak to deceive the strong. It's that you're too arrogant. The Demonic Rock Dynasty may not be weak, but in the grand scheme of the ancient battlefield, it's not much. If you have the chance, you'll encounter more situations like this in the future. No need to be surprised." "That I do admit," Lei She replied with a faint smile. He also knew well that there were many stronger dynasties in the ancient battlefield, ones far more powerful than theirs. Indeed, there are numerous dynasties and experts in the ancient battlefield that even the Demonic Rock Dynasty fears. But you're not one of them. Lin Dong didn't seem to care, lazily saying, "Isn't it your turn to make a move next? I wonder, how many Nirvana pills did you use when you broke through to the Nirvana stage?" "Lin Dong, don't be so arrogant. I haven't lost yet." A figure shot up from below. It was the battered Chen Mu reappearing. He looked at Lin Dong with a ferocious glare and growled, clearly unable to accept that he would be defeated by Lin Dong. When he first encountered Lin Dong, the latter could only rely on his spirit puppet to contend with Nirvana stage experts. Yet in less than 2 months, Lin Dong had managed to defeat him alone. This transformation was not just a simple blow to Chen Mu. It was a severe one. Lin Dong glanced indifferently at Chen Mu. The previous strike had been quite severe, and Chen Mu was now clearly at the end of his strength. However, if he dared to rush forward again, Lin Dong wouldn't hesitate to kill him on the spot. "Chen Mu, you are not his match. Form the formation with Li and the others. I will handle him personally." Just as Chen Mu's eyes turned blood red with fury, Lei She spoke calmly from behind. Hearing Lei She's words, Chen Mu clenched his fist, glaring venomously at Lin Dong. But in the end, He did not disobey. He moved, dragging his heavily injured body back, aligning with the other 8 to form a peculiar formation, with Lin Dong right at the center. I hadn't planned on using such a formation, but your performance has indeed been somewhat unexpected. I'll never like taking risks. If so many of us came out here and achieved nothing, it would be a disgrace to return. Lei She stood with his hands behind his back, his gaze fixed on Lin Dong, a chilling aura faintly emanating from him. The number of Nirvana pills used when breaking through to the Nirvana stage only determines one's strength before passing the Nirvana tribulation. But unfortunately for you, I faced the Nirvana tribulation 2 months ago. Upon hearing this, even Lin Dong's eyes narrowed sharply. His gaze locked onto the man named Lei She. The Nirvana tribulation is the most crucial challenge for a Nirvana stage expert. Only by truly overcoming the Nirvana tribulation can one add a first yuan to their title at this level. The difference between a first yuan Nirvana and an ordinary Nirvana stage is not small. The Nirvana stage has 9 yuan levels, meaning one must overcome 9 Nirvana tribulations. With each successful passage, one's strength will advance by leaps and bounds, becoming incomparable to their former self. Lin Dong had just become a heavenly talisman master. With the devouring ancestral talisman, he could wield enough heavenly power to defeat a powerful Nirvana stage expert like Chen Mu. But if he were to face an expert who had truly passed a Nirvana tribulation, he might find himself at a disadvantage. For this reason, Lin Dong was so shaken when he heard that Lei She had touched the Nirvana tribulation, a challenge that many Nirvana experts both feared and coveted. The Demonic Rock Dynasty certainly has some formidable capabilities. Lin Dong exhaled lightly, calming the fluctuations in his eyes, then looked at Lei She and smiled. But I think you might have failed. For Nirvana stage cultivators, the Nirvana tribulation could be a destructive fire, or it could be a fire of rebirth. Successfully overcoming it would mean undergoing a tremendous transformation akin to a rebirth. Conversely, those who failed might, if lucky, escape with their lives, but more often than not, they would perish in the tribulation itself. This duality is why so many Nirvana cultivators have a love-hate relationship with the Nirvana tribulation. It is the perfect path to becoming stronger, but passing through it means risking one's life. Lin Dong was well aware of how powerful those who survived the Nirvana tribulation could be. The Lei She before him was certainly no weakling, but it seemed there was still some distance between him and that level. Hearing Lin Dong's words, Lei She's eyes narrowed slightly, and his expression turned somewhat unpleasant. It seemed Lin Dong had struck a sore spot. Lei She indeed failed to overcome the Nirvana tribulation, but he was fortunate enough to escape with his life. Even though I didn't fully succeed, I gained some benefits. Taking care of you shouldn't be a problem. Lei She, visibly irritated by the sensitive topic, showed signs of impatience, his triangular eyes filled with a chilling gleam. Chen Mu, take action. At Lei She's command, a fierce glint flashed in Chen Mu and his comrade's eyes. Suddenly, several beams of potent primordial energy shot out, intertwining to form a net of light that enveloped the entire area. Today, there's no escape for you. Lei She pointed a finger toward Lin Dong, and his expression turned icy. As he stepped forward, the air trembled and exploded, and his figure disappeared in a bizarre manner. What incredible speed! Lin Dong's pupils contracted slightly. Lei She's first move already showcased a strength far beyond that of Chen Mu, causing even Lin Dong to feel a sense of danger. Though Lei She hadn't successfully passed the Nirvana tribulation, having experienced it once, his strength naturally surpassed that of ordinary Nirvana stage cultivators. As his spiritual energy swiftly spread out, Lin Dong's figure suddenly sidestepped. Boom! Just as he shifted, a cold claw shot out from behind, narrowly grazing his shoulder. The claw vibrated at a high frequency, radiating lethal force. Impressive for a heavenly talisman master. Lei She smiled faintly after missing his target. With a flick of his arm, it extended unnaturally, slapping heavily onto Lin Dong's chest. Bang! A dull sound echoed. The surrounding air violently burst apart, and Lin Dong was pushed back several steps. Feeling a tightness in his chest, his gaze grew serious. Lei She was indeed a formidable opponent. Huh? Seeing Lin Dong withstand his attack without much injury, Lei She uttered a surprised sound. His strike would normally wound even a Nirvana golden body cultivator, yet Lin Dong seemed unaffected. Could it be because of that black armor? Lei She narrowed his eyes, glancing at the peculiar black armor covering Lin Dong. He licked his lips, and a bloodthirsty glint flashed in his eyes. Let's see how much your armor can withstand. No matter what tricks you have up your sleeve, the outcome today won't change. Lei She sneered coldly, and his figure suddenly shot forward, a tremendous wave of energy rippling around him. Lin Dong glanced at the fiercely advancing Lei She and then at the array surrounding him. A cold smile curved his lips as he softly murmured, "That may not be the case. It seems the net that was cast should now be retracted." A dense light net spread out from the sky like a prison, sealing everything within a few hundred meters. The sight was rather spectacular, indicating that the Demonic Rock Dynasty had indeed come prepared. Boom! Boom! As the light net spread, two figures clashed like lightning above the sea of trees, releasing astonishing waves of energy. The lush waves below were swept up by the residual energy, but were fully blocked by the descending light net. It was evident that the array's power was formidable. Regardless of how fierce the battle between the two figures inside, the area outside the light net remained calm and undisturbed. Chen Mu's eyes were vicious as he stared at the figure trapped in the array. Lin Dong's performance had indeed been unexpected, but no matter how he struggled today, the result would not change. This array was impenetrable even for a Nirvana stage cultivator, and with Lei She's involvement, Lin Dong was destined for death, no matter how much stronger he became. "I want to see how you escape today." Thud! Under Chen Mu's gritted teeth, the two intertwined figures suddenly shot apart, each landing on the forest floor, tearing massive fissures into the earth. "Kid, you do have some skill." Lei She shuddered, dissipating the residual force within his body. He lifted his gaze to the figure not far away, his eyes filled with a mixture of surprise and gravity. With his current strength, ordinary Nirvana stage cultivators wouldn't last 10 rounds against him. Yet, Lin Dong had managed to hold his own using his formidable spiritual energy, which genuinely surprised him. Lin Dong exhaled deeply. The devouring power spread throughout his body, quickly neutralizing the destructive energy rampaging inside him. He then glanced down at his devouring armor, noticing tiny cracks forming all over it. He had managed to withstand Lei She's frontal assaults multiple times thanks to this armor. Without it, his internal organs would have been severely damaged already, given Lei She's undeniable strength. Lin Dong's eyes flickered with a subtle light as he looked at the light net that enveloped the area. He knew that Lei She's previous attacks were merely to buy time for Chen Mu and the others to complete their formation. Now that the array was finished, it seemed they were about to strike with lethal force. Our Demonic Rock Dynasty always focuses on results, not the process. Overwhelming with numbers is no burden to us. Lei She chuckled when he noticed Lin Dong looking at the light net in the sky, his smile carrying a hint of malevolence. "You are quite a talent. If it weren't for those previous incidents, we might have recruited you into the Demonic Rock Dynasty. But alas!" Lei She sounded somewhat regretful, but then he chuckled again, raising his hand. "Do it!" As Lei She gave the command, Chen Mu and the others' eyes turned cold. A smirk crept onto their faces as their hand seals shifted, causing the massive light net to start flickering. Swish! Swish! As the light net flickered, countless beams of light suddenly shot out, tearing through the air at incredible speed. Lin Dong, unable to evade in time, was tightly bound. Hiss! With Lin Dong restrained, the light beams shimmered again, this time forming a massive spear of light that materialized and shot toward Lin Dong with terrifying force. "It's over," Lei She murmured, his lips curling slightly as he watched Lin Dong, unable to move. The light spear tore through the sky, carrying a chilling energy. In the next moment, it was less than 10 feet from Lin Dong. The fierce wind pressure from the spear caused the devouring armor on his body to tremble, sensing the imminent danger. Lin Dong's eyes locked onto the light spear, but instead of fear, a mysterious smile appeared on his face. Then, a black hole rapidly expanded before him, swallowing the incoming spear. Muffled explosions echoed faintly before both the black hole and the spear dissipated. The sudden twist froze the smiles on Lei She and his comrades' faces, and their eyes grew even colder. "I told you, I've been waiting for you for a long time." Under the cold gazes of Lei She and the others, Lin Dong looked up and smiled faintly at them. For some reason, Lei She felt a sudden unease in his heart at that smile. However, Lin Dong didn't speak further after that. His body trembled slightly as the devouring power spread quietly. The light bindings around his body melted away like snow meeting a flame. No matter what tricks you have up your sleeve, do you think you alone can resist the combined assault of 2 Nirvana stage and 8 half-step Nirvana stage experts? Lei She's voice dripped with malice. This lineup is enough to annihilate any Nirvana stage expert. Even though Lin Dong possesses a spirit puppet and is a heavenly talisman master himself, these advantages are still far from giving him any substantial chance. Lin Dong flexed his wrists and flashed a playful smile at Lei She. Gradually, his gaze began to exude a chill. "Since you've come to hunt me down, you should be prepared for the worst. Because this mission might just cost you your lives." "Just you?" Chen Mu sneered. "Yes, just me." Lin Dong nodded seriously, then swiftly formed hand seals. Simultaneously, within the stone talisman space, Little Mink, who had been on standby, let out a peculiar chuckle and mimicked Lin Dong's hand seals with its claws. Boom! As Lin Dong and Little Mink simultaneously completed their seals, the forest sea trembled violently. The ground beneath them split open, and a dark curtain of light shot up to the sky. In an instant, it connected end to end, forming a dark space that encompassed the entire light net formation. The sudden transformation caused Lei She and the others to turn pale. They stared at the darkness outside the light net, a chilling sensation creeping up within them. That darkness seemed capable of swallowing even their vision. "Kill him!" Lei She quickly regained his composure. His eyes grew cold as he shouted harshly. No matter what trick Lin Dong was attempting, as long as they could kill him, this bizarre situation would naturally resolve itself. Hearing Lei She's command, Chen Mu and the others snapped back to reality. Their hand seals shifted again, and the light net began to coalesce once more, forming several massive spears of light. Shill. However, this time, as the spears of light started to form, they suddenly began to tremble. Then, to Chen Mu and the others' astonishment, they inexplicably dissipated into thin air. "Damn, our formation is being undone." Chen Mu and the others were shocked, as they seemed to realize something. Upon hearing this, Lei She's face changed as well. Sure enough, he saw the light net dimming visibly, as if its energy was rapidly draining away. "Maintain the formation." Lei She's eyes flickered with urgency. Gritting his teeth, he clenched his hand, and a black, flexible sword appeared in his grasp. His figure then shot towards Lin Dong once more. This time, he pushed the primordial energy within him to its limit, clearly intending not to give Lin Dong any more time to cause trouble. "This is my devouring realm. Here, you have no escape." However, facing Lei She, who was surging with incredible power, Lin Dong merely smiled slightly. His body moved, and he bizarrely melted out of the light net, disappearing into the profound darkness. Seeing Lin Dong's strange disappearance, Lei She's expression darkened. He looked around at the impenetrable darkness, the chill in his heart growing stronger and stronger. "Brother Lei She, our primordial energy is rapidly draining away. This damn place is stealing our energy." The experts of the Demonic Rock Dynasty suddenly cried out in fear, as Lei She found himself at a loss. As they panicked, Lei She's face twitched uncontrollably because he too felt the quiet depletion of the primordial energy within his body. It was evident that this dark place was devouring the energy from their bodies. Damn it! At this moment, even Lei She, with his usual cold demeanor, couldn't help but fly into a rage. He roared, "Lin Dong, come out and fight me, you coward. Sorry, I also care only about the results, not the process." A mocking voice echoed from the depths of the darkness. Lei She's eyes turned cold, and he unleashed a furious punch toward where the voice came from, but it was like throwing a stone into the sea. No response. "Brother Lei She, the formation is about to break." Fear flooded Chen Mu's eyes as he stared at the ever-dimming light net, the only source of illumination they could rely on. However, in response to his voice, Lei She clenched his fists tightly. They had no means to break free from this darkness. It seemed they could only wait helplessly as the primordial energy in their bodies continued to drain away. Once their energy was completely exhausted, they would be powerless against Lin Dong. Sizzle. The light net grew dimmer and dimmer until, finally, it was utterly extinguished before Lei She and his comrades' terrified eyes. Complete darkness engulfed the area. Above the forest, a massive rectangular shroud of darkness hovered in midair, devouring any light that touched it. Outside this dark veil, Lin Dong stood atop a tall tree, his eyes slightly closed, waiting for time to pass. At last, the roles of hunter and prey had perfectly reversed.